Hey everybody, welcome back to Crazy Dave's Crew. I'm Laura. You're watching Thursday Threads. So last week I posted a video showing kind of a chaotic, free-flowing scrappy square, but I used rectangles and large squares and different things. And I had a viewer ask about if I could show the sewing of the squares with the sashing. So we're going to spend a few minutes just sewing together the blocks that make up this top that I made. So don't go away, we'll be right back. Alright, so I have got my 5.5 inch string blocks. And I cut some gray fabric to go as my sashing. So I'm going to press this down so that we're nice and flat. Alright, well the first thing y'all need to know, I am a pinner. I have had some viewers say I use too many pins. I'm just going to say y'all are rock stars if you don't have to pin. I am so envious of you. I pin. So, getting my sashing. And of course I'm just going to start with the first tier. And I am just going to just pin that down right along the edge. And then we're going to take it over the sewing machine. I am using a piecing foot, a 1/4 inch piecing foot. I have my needle in the center position, and it's just a basic straight stitch. So I'm going to match this up right up next to this guide. And I'm going to start a little bit into right there up next to the guide. So I'm going to go back. And you probably don't have to do this. It's just, you know, something I do. And I lift. So we're still all nice and even. Still up next to my guide. And just a little bit of a reinforcement. And there we go. But we're not done yet. I really like this mat. It's like a folding mat. On the other side is a cutter. And here is just the ironing board material. So this makes it really nice. I don't have to keep getting up and moving over to my ironing board. So we're going to press. We're going to set that seam. Okay. And then I'm going to just bring it open. And then, just to be on the safe side, I'm going to measure it to just kind of make sure I've got it at the width I want it. I know I need this to be 3/4 inch. So I'm going to take my ruler, using this seam as my guide. I'm going to 3/4 inch right there along the seam, and there's just a little bit, not much, but I'm going to trim that off. Okay. So I want, and so because I want them, when I attach these together, I'm going to want them to come together in the V. So I'm just going to flip this right over And I'm going to repeat the process. And you can either sew down this line on this side, or you can sew down on this side. 6 of one, half dozen the other. I also want to make sure that I'm lined up and not wonky. A couple pins ought to do that. Like I said, if you can do it without pinning, I admire you. I have a couple little pins. See, in this way too, then if I get tired with my MG, if I go ahead and pin everything, I can set it aside and it's ready for me the next time I feel up to sewing. So I'm just going to take this back to the sewing machine. We're going to sew that down. Be right back. And we're just repeating the first step. I'm just kind of making sure everything's still lined up. Holding it down. Oh, slid just a little. Now, I'm being very careful for my finger there, that I'm kind of touching that edge, but just the edge. If you're not comfortable, if you've ever sewn your finger down, which I have not, knock on wood, you can always use a stiletto to kind of hold things down and help push things through. Good tool to use, good tool to have. And we're just going to repeat the process again. Set the seam, press it open. And you will see, by using a 1-inch sashing and a 1/4-inch seam, they just come together really, really nicely. And then what's left to do is to trim these and then sew them together. You know the old saying about measuring twice so that you cut once? Yeah, I'm almost getting to the thing where I measure 3, 4, 5 times. You know. Lots of measuring. Saves a little bit of heartache in the end. Just my opinion. But then again, that's also why I pin. Fine. So I go a little slower. I'm okay with that. All right. All right, so now I've got my other strip there. Again, set the seam, and I'm just going to press it open. And yeah, there's little strings. I'll kind of brush those aside. All right. Again, I'm going to measure it. So 3/4 of an inch on that seam. And I do have a little bit over here, so again, and I walk my fingers. And you'll notice I always release so that the guard comes up. So, all right. All right, so here's where it can get tricky, because I do want to line this up as much as I can. I don't really want it this way or this way. Okay, I want to get it as close as I can to right there. So ideally, if I've done it right, I should just be able to match up my sides. Notice I said ideally. So if I just match up my sides here, that should get me right in the center. Now, I know me, and I know the way I sew, and I know I have a little bit of trouble with things slipping. So, I want a pin on either side of my sashing. And I like to double check it. Yep, that's got me right there. And I want to pin on the other side of the sashing, just as close as I can, including that seam if I can. Okay? Double checking it. Now, it should all be pretty good. So a little bit of pin there. I like to make sure. Ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And I would rather take my time. So, again, using our piecing foot, I'm just going to sew straight down. Let's see how I do. Alright, well, I think I did pretty good. Got it pretty well matched up there. So we've got a few strings, so we'll just brush all those little strings aside. And I'm not perfect on this side. I'm not exactly perfect on any, but all those will disappear into the top. So I'm not worried. And that is how I do a 1-inch sashing on putting these blocks together.